we were in my son's bedroom. My daughter was probably 4 and he was 5. And we're sitting on the floor, and then all of a sudden we saw all these, and the angels show themselves as like light beings. Okay, they're not like actual like human figures, but they're light beings. So I remember sitting there, and all of a sudden we saw like a blue, and then we would saw a green, and then we would see like a red. And so we saw all these different colors that were showing up, and I'm like, are you guys seeing this? And they're like, look, mommy, there's a blue one. Look, mommy, this. And then my kids start jumping on them, okay, and like playing around with them. I remember sitting in the doorway. I was just watching them and going, oh my gosh, like this is incredible, because they were so vibrant, but they were so alive, and my children were so joyful. And it was just such a beautiful memory to experience.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have Amy Pituch with us on the show today. Amy blends technology, sound, and energy healing in a unique science meets spirit approach that supports both kids and adults on their healing journeys. I'm excited to hear about her innovative mix of modalities, including angels, and how it's benefiting her clients. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now, let's go talk with Amy. Amy, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled to have you.
Likewise, I am so excited to be here with you, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm so grateful we shared the space together today.
Absolutely. How'd you go from being an elementary school teacher to an energy practitioner? Was there a catalyst that kind of ignited your woo-woo genes, or what happened?
That is such a great question. So, I was actually practicing my energy work while also teaching, and I was doing it part-time. And so what happened was probably about 3 years ago. How it all started is when I had my awakening, if you wanna say that. My husband and I were on an anniversary trip up in New York. I live in Pennsylvania, and we went for a hike. I love waterfalls, and I remember walking down this pathway, and I went around the bend, and I saw the falls for the first time. They're the tallest falls east of the Rocky Mountains, and I saw them, and I just stopped, and I felt, like, energy from the first time. I could feel, like, the power of the waterfall. I could feel I mean, it was like I could feel all the energy from the waterfall, and I just, stood there, and I started, like, weeping and crying, and at that time, I didn't really express my emotions much. So my husband's like, "Are you okay?" Because I literally just froze and stopped. And from that moment on, I remember that weekend we stayed in tiny house. I love tiny houses, and I remember sitting there and while looking at the fire, and I could see a blue flame, like a blue light above the fire, and then that just kind of from there got the ball rolling with all of a sudden the universe brought Reiki to me. And so I didn't even know what it was at first. And then guided me to my teacher. So I became a Reiki practitioner, and then they brought sound to me. And so I became a sound therapist, and then the BioWell with imaging your energetic body. And so I just been open and receptive and trusting as the universe has been guiding me. And so I just concluded my 17th year of being an elementary teacher this year, and I resigned as spirit guided me to follow a different path to be able to serve others in a new light. So this is where I'm at, and it's been a beautiful journey experiencing the both of everything.
What do you think it was about you being in front of the falls and the energy coming off of the falls? Do you think it changed your vibrational level in your body? Or what do you think really transpired during that experience, really?
Yeah. I feel like I felt for the first time. I could feel, like, I always thought I could feel emotions, but it was a different type of feeling, like, and maybe it was the vibrations coming in the higher frequencies, but it was, like, the most beautiful, like, to weep happy tears like that, like, it was just pure and unconditional love. And, when I've experienced that several times thereafter, and it's just that unconditional love that when you experience, it's such a deep beautiful feeling. It's, like, not like any of the other emotions. So it's, like, almost felt like I was alive, like, for the first time, and I just could, like, breathe, and it was, like it's, like, looking back on it, it's almost like like I was in a shell and it just cracked open, and I could feel everything that we're intended to feel. Like, I was just walking through, this planet just unawakened and not aware of what's going on. So it was just my time for the universe to for me to experience that.
How's it affected your life overall?
Oh, it's it's really interesting because, I am a mother, I have 5 children, but it's interesting because at that time, I the 2 younger children are my biological children, and when I started going through my spiritual awakening, my son at the time, he was like 3, I think, 3 or 4, and he was experiencing spiritual things as well at the same time I was, which was super interesting. And then my daughter, who's the youngest, who's a 20 months younger than him, she was experiencing things too. So he was more vocal because he could talk more, at 3, 4-year-old. So he was experiencing things and he was seeing things in his room and he was, like, talking about it, and he went through a period of where there was this dark, scary, tall man in his room with a tall cap, and he would come and visit him, and he would be so scared, and he would go into there's a bunk bed, and my I remember sometimes my son would be on the top bunk scared to death, and I was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Mommy, I don't like him. I don't like what he's doing." And he, and I at that time, I this is the beginning for me. I wasn't aware of anything energetically or what's going on. So, I remember going into a crystal store and I was like I talked to somebody and she's like, "Oh, when children are in tune, sometimes that can happen." She taught me how to sage and how to where to put crystals and do all that because that was like a whole new world to me at that time. And I didn't know. And so we did it and it went away. And then he was able to start sleeping through the night and, being able to do that. So, but it's been really interesting because my 2 younger ones and myself, we all 3 of us started to be able to see angels. So I can tell you the story. One of my favorite we'll just be sitting there watching the sunset from our house, and we'll start seeing them in the sky, and we can see the different colors. But I think my favorite memory of us 3 is we were in my son's bedroom. My daughter was probably 4 and he was 5. My son was 5, and we're sitting on the floor, and then all of a sudden we saw all these and the angels show themselves as like light beings. Okay, they're not like actual like human figures, but they're light beings, and they come in different colors that we would see. So I remember sitting there, and all of a sudden we saw like a blue, and then we would saw a green, and then we would see like a red, and so we saw all these different colors that were showing up, and I'm like, "Are you guys seeing this?" And they're like, "Look, mommy, there's a blue one. Look, mommy, this." And then my kids start jumping on them, okay, and, like, playing around with them, as what you expect 2 young kids to do, and they were giggling and having and the light beams were moving around, and I just sat there. I remember sitting in the doorway. I was just watching them and going, "Oh my gosh, like, this is incredible," because they were so vibrant, but they were so alive, and my children were so joyful, and it was just such a beautiful memory to experience that, and, that's just something that we shared together, and it's been really beautiful, and, in the beginning, my husband wasn't, I would say, awakened at first, so it was we were experiencing different things at that time, and then he went through his, like, 6 months later, and so he has his own gifts in his own way. Granted, he doesn't see the angels like we do, but he has his own unique experiences that are perfect for him, that we all complement each other in our own way. So, yeah, so our families definitely has changed over the past, 3 years, but it's been a beautiful transformation.
Did you talk to the angels when they were in the room?
When I have, but that time I didn't. I just observed. I just watched because I was I was, like, in a moment of shock almost 'cause, like, the first time, because I was just watching my kids playing with them and just joy. Because I was like I didn't know, like, as a mom, I was like, I didn't want them to be, like, harm them or anything. And then I'm like, wait, no, that's just our human brain thinking. And then I just sat there and just like watched because I was such in awe and shock. And it was just, they were giggling and just having so much fun. And it was such a beautiful moment in my life that I didn't talk with them or anything because I was just witnessing it. I was just in the moment and just witnessing it.
I'm picturing a cat following a laser beam on the floor. You know, how the cat will pounce on the laser beam, and then you move the laser beam over, maybe with one of those pen
Mhm.
pointers if
Yeah.
you're doing a presentation or something. When the angels came in the different colors, did they appear and then they stayed, or did they appear and disappear, like, coming in and out as far as a flashing light, or can you describe that for us?
So, when they show themselves, they show themselves and they'll stay and they'll move a little bit, but it's not like a flashing light for us that what we see. It's just kind of like they'll just kind of show up. Like, we'll be driving and sometimes and my son will be like, "Oh," like, for example, we see Archangel Michael a lot. So we have gotten to so I remember we were at Lowe's and we were outside, Lowe's parking lot, and they had one of those big trucks there, and and they were like, "Mommy, look, right there's the Blue Angel." He's like, "Right there, it's on the truck," and we could see it on the back of the truck, and it was, really neat to see. So when we see them, when they want to show themselves to us, when they change their frequency so we can see them with our physical eyes, it's at certain times, but it's not all the time. It's when they want themselves to be seen. So, yeah, that's kinda how we see him. It's kind of like just a light and it just moves around and then it'll just vanish. It'll just go away on its own.
A light like a blue ball kind of a thing, or does it have a shape?
Sometimes, for myself, I can speak to, sometimes they're circular, a lot of times they're more oval, and sometimes I do see them take on, um, very unique shapes, like, almost like especially, when I'm looking out, like, they'll almost be like a connect the dots, if that makes sense?
Mhm.
But those the ones that are, like, I call the connected dots, a lot of times they show themselves as being white, but what's interesting with those, though, the other day, they were showing themselves as blue. So they would be blue, and they were thicker, and then they transformed into red, and then they do that. So it's I just witness and just show gratitude, and I say, "Thank you for being with me," and, I feel the love, I can actually feel them, and, it's well, the angels are very present, and they're very around our house, like, I can, videotape them, they're around it's really here's another fun story for you, so after I got my Reiki 1 attunement and I was driving home, I remember seeing the blue and a green angel on the side of the road, and I was driving, I saw it in the field, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," and that night, I had this urge to take my phone and record outside my backyard, which I never did. I've done that, and I did, and there was, like, a pink light, like, they're circular, and it's like an orb, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting," and ever since that day, they have been surrounding my house. They have never left my house, so every evening, I can take on my phone, and we can look at the orbs, the angelic orbs outside our house with our phones and record them.
If you send me some of those videos, that would be great.
Yes, I pulled out 2 that I
Great.
wanted to share with you because what's interesting, and I think because you're in tune spiritually too, so how they used to present themselves is they used to stay, a little bit further back from the house and they would be circular, but now there's this shift of the new earth and everything that's happening, they're getting closer and they're actually, like, coming in and out my window. Like, you can see them coming super close, and the one video I wanna share, they actually, like, move themselves to almost make different geometric shapes. So, yeah, it's really fascinating because it's been evolving, like, how they've been showing themselves, but I have, like, I have tons of videos on my phone that I've taken 'cause I'll get them out and I'll just video and I'll talk with them, and if ever I'm going through, like, something that's, challenging here on the planet, and I will, I'll pull it out and I'll just talk with them and I can just feel their love. Like, it's just they're just surrounding my family, and it's just this love that you can feel with them, you know? So, it's been a blessing that we've been able to experience that, yeah.
How did they identify themselves to you? How did you know that those balls of different colored energy were angels, first of all? And secondly, what do you believe the different colors mean?
Well, at first, I didn't know what the orbs were, what the and I was like, "What is this?" And so then I started, like, Google searching, I couldn't and I saw, like, orbs and all this stuff, and I'm like and then I would take screenshots of these videos, and there would be almost, like, geometric shapes sometimes, and there would be, like, almost faces in them sometimes, and I'm like, "What is this?" And at that time, like, I am the very first person I know to be open to any spirituality, like, my family's not no one's I didn't know one to talk to about it. So I'm like, what do I do with this?" So I at that time, when I was going through it, I was being like, woken up. I was meditating, like, for every day from at 3, 4 AM. I would wake up and go downstairs and meditate for an hour. For, like, 6 months, they had me do that. And so I would do that, and when I would be in meditation, that's when I would start to hear things and they would share things and that. So when I would ask about it, you know, they said that it was the angels around protecting my family. Yeah, so and as far as the different colors, it's been really interesting because there's a lot more I want to dive into because we're like the blue one usually is Archangel Michael when he's showing himself. However, there's been times where he has shown himself as being pink. And he has shown himself being different colors. And so, I am still investigating and being open and receptive of, um, what that all means, and I don't have all the answers at this time, and I know that, um, I've read in books and I had done stuff where they say, "This angel's this color and this angel's this color," but there's more to it than what we know right now, and I don't have all the answers for the angels of because with all this we're in a state of remembering, everything that's going on, so there's more with the angels than what we know of here on Earth, and so, I don't have that exact answer of what everyone means. I know they do represent different frequencies. So, how I personally do it, like, yes, I can see their color, but I tune into their frequency and I feel what their frequency is. And, Archangel Michael has a certain frequency to him. Um, Archangel Gabriel or Raphael or, what I mean, whoever it is, Uriel, they have a certain frequency. Or like when Mother Mary comes, like I can feel her frequency or so. So that's how I don't look at necessarily by the colors that they are, I feel and tune into the frequency that they are.
Mhm. When you were saying sometimes he shows up pink, sometimes he shows up blue, and, you don't know why, he's in my head going, "It depends on what the frequency is that's needed at the time." So
Mm.
he's saying if you look up what the spiritual significance is of some of those colors, spirits like to send us on treasure hunts almost. Sometimes they make us work for the information,
Mhm.
and so he's saying if you investigate it, it will make sense to you.
Mm.
They show up to me like I'm a Catholic school girl, 12 years. So, you too. Big wings, white gown, rope belt, barefoot, the whole 9 yards, and he shows up to me like the statues. I went to St. Michael grade school, for God's sakes. So, on the altar of the church is this life-size statue of him with the shield and the sword and the lace-up sandals and the short mini skirt that the Roman warriors used to wear and all of that. So that's how they show up to me. It's always interesting how they show up to different people
Mhm.
and how they perceive them. Would you say you're more of a kinesthetic learner than a visual learner?
Mm. I'm both. I'm both.
Mhm.
But you know what's interesting? Well, they have showed in meditation themselves more in, a body form, you know? I have seen them show themselves in that form as well. But that's a great question. I'm both, I've taken those tests, and I think I'm like 50/50.
Yeah. Yeah. You seem more skewed towards kinesthetic than visual to me, that you're feeling things. You went to the falls, you felt it, you
Mhm.
can feel it's Archangel Michael's frequency and things like that. By the way, spirit it's been my experience that spirit shows up in a way that we can recognize them, and certainly somebody growing up in an indigenous culture may see angel energy as just a blob of purple energy or something that's going to resonate with them.
Mm.
And I have you found that to be the case with spirits, whether they're angels or deceased loved ones, they're gonna show up in a way that we can recognize and identify who they are.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think of working with my clients when I do energy sessions and how they show up, when someone comes and visits them, how they experience it, and it's always perfect for them, where they are in their journey because it makes them feel safe, I feel like if they were showing up in ways that weren't safe, and comfortable to them, it wouldn't serve the purpose. So absolutely, I definitely agree with that, and that's the beauty of it is that it's not this, like, pigeonhole one what I mean? One side's it's this and this and this, and especially I think with our Catholic upbringing, it has to be like this, but that's not true, the angels can represent themselves in so many different ways, and like you said, in the cultures, depending on it, and that's why it's so important to recognize and celebrate each other's cultures because we can learn so much from each other.
Right. Well, and those old masters, I believe, were actually seeing the angel energy, and that's why they painted them the way that
Mhm.
they did, and then it's just come down through the ages, and I would say in Western culture, most people they
Mhm.
perceive angels to look like the way that the old masters painted them, for heaven's sakes, because that's what we've been taught for the last couple thousand years, if not longer. The other interesting thing about angel energy too is how it can transform and they can take a human form. Have you run into that with any of your clients or yourself for some kind of a purpose that they can assume really any one of a number of identities, right? I think it's unlimited depending on what their mission is, if they choose to accept it, like in the Mission Impossible movies.
Yeah, I have definitely, like, within my energy sessions with people, have experienced people that have, they are from the angelic realm and it's beautiful and they bring so much light to this world and they just see they just have these hearts that are so open and they just see the good in people, and it's really, really been beautiful. So I've witnessed like just a couple of my clients that I have experienced and it's such a blessing getting to experience it. Yeah.
Well, and you hear about the mom who lifts the car by herself because her child's underneath the wheel, and you're thinking, "Okay," and you go back and you do an instant replay and you see, okay, there are a bunch of angels there that were helping her lift the car.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, I definitely think they're intervening all the time.
Mhm.
Very
I
much.
do too. I do too. You mentioned that you don't come from a spiritual family necessarily. How did your family take it when you had your experience at the falls and then you especially now since you've resigned from your job and you wanna do woo-woo full time, what are they thinking about all of that?
They kinda keep to themselves about it. They don't say anything bad. They just kinda like, my parents are, very they just wanna be supportive and yeah, we just my immediate family is very, very supportive, and they're used to me doing all my stuff, like my kids and everything. But they just kind of like, "Oh, that's nice," and so I don't I just meet people where they're at, and, the relationship that we have is special, and that's just kind of where I am with life is I just meet people where they at, and if they are open to it, I'll have these wonderful conversations but I will never push anything on them because they're in their journey and they're living out their life how they're meant to live it out, so, yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah. I'm the same way. We don't need to prove it to anybody. If you wanna talk about it, great. If you wanna talk about football or the weather or whatever, that's fine too. Whatever makes you happy. The other thing that's interesting, and I believe you'll run into this, is you'll tell them something or you'll nail something that there's no way you could know. And that's really going to open them up and they're going to say, wait a minute, what's Amy? Really? Maybe there's something to this stuff with what Amy's doing. And that will come. It
Mm.
happened for me with all my family members where I told them stuff there's no way I could know,
Mhm.
and medical stuff and other things, and pretty much everybody I know who's a graduate of my class has had different experiences with their family and friends that have gone along those same lines, so buckle up, girl, it's gonna happen. It's coming. You say you combine science and energy work to help people improve their well-being. Tell us about that. What do you mean by that?
So I love I'm very passionate and drawn to the worlds of so I first started with the worlds of energy, like with Reiki and sound, and I was seeing incredible changes and I'm like, what's going on? And then the universe guided me to BioWell. And so what BioWell is a device that does imaging of your biofield, okay, your energetic body. And so I love merging the two because it helps people see. So there's so many it's super fascinating the clients that are brought to me by the universe. So I would say about 95%, 90 to 95% of them have no awareness that they have any energetic body, okay? And they experience like an energy session and it's their very first time ever. So they experience like, "What was that?" And so whether I do the imaging using the BioWell or I talk through them and just educate them on your chakras, on your meridians, and we are energetic beings here on an energetic earth, and bringing that awareness because I truly believe the first step is awareness, and once we have that awareness, then we can tune into our bodies, and then people can become empowered, to make those life changes so that they can show up differently in the world to do what they're meant to do instead of just walking through life blindly and just, living on that constant hamster wheel of not being in alignment. So I love merging the two because it brings so much awareness and I feel like it's connecting people who feel it and who know it but are nervous about taking that plunge, because of whether they heard, because of society, of belief systems, like you said about the woo woo. It takes the woo woo out of it because, it's going back to all like the sound healing and working with frequencies. They're all ancient techniques, that we're just bringing back, and it's not woo woo, it's science based. And so what's really interesting is I have the opportunity through my training to bring awareness to show, it's not just what we feel. We can actually have data and numbers and graphs. And our Western culture here in the US, that's so important to bring people to a point where they have that awareness so they can start making the shifts in their life. So it's been it's been a really cool experience and I've done a lot of different experiments to with people's, like, energy bodies, but also working in different rooms, like in different classrooms, and I measured the angels outside and my house, and that's a really cool one, and I have a graph and everything that I wanna show you with that one. So I measured.
So you measure the frequency of the angel's energy?
Yes. So what I did is, I have a graph that I can share with you. But so before, there's a device called BioWell is the device that does the imaging of your energetic body. There is an attachment to it called the Sputnik, and that measures the energy of space. So I can measure the environment and I can tell you how many joules. Joules is the unit of measurement for energy. So how many joules is in the space of a room or an area. And I can also tell you if the energy is coherent or chaotic by looking at the area deviation. So I did 3 tests using the Sputnik. So the first test that I did, usually outside my backyard, I have anywhere from like 5 to 9 like faint pink orbs, angels, and they appear and they move around. And what was really interesting, so I went out my back um, patio deck area behind my house and I set everything up. And once I turned on the Sputnik, they all disappeared except for one faint one. Okay. And I went inside and I let it go, and they all like chose not to show themselves because when they're showing themselves, they're choosing to have their frequency be known. Okay, let that we could see them. So when I did that, they came in just a little bit on the graph right here, a little bit like maybe like around 1 joule. Okay. Then the second time I did it was 2 days later, and I did the same thing at nighttime, and again, the orbs were out there, but when I turned it on this time, 2 or 3 orbs kinda hung around, and they were about a yard to 10 yards from the back of my house, and this time I was on the back deck. I also played my quartz crystal bowl, and my husband and I went out and meditated for a little bit during this time, but it went up to about 1.5 joules. So it increased a little bit, which I was like, "Okay, that's pretty cool," you know? So I was getting ready to fly down to Florida for my expert level training for BioWell, and it was 9 o'clock, and I put the kids to bed, and I wasn't gonna do it anymore. And I was in the kitchen, and then I heard the message, and it was like it was all I heard was, "Council said permission granted." And I was like, "What?" Like, I was just like I was just doing my own little thing, and I was like, "What do you mean council said permission granted?" And I didn't understand, and then I had this knowing to go out and run the Sputnik, and I was like, "Okay." So, when I went out there and ran the Sputnik, it actually maxed at 3.8 joules. So it doubled, more than doubled the amount of energy in my backyard, and they showed themselves. So, I'm one of the videos, I'll show you one of the videos with it. So it was really amazing with it. And so what I learned from that experience is that um I if I want to go out and measure the angels, I have to I get their permission. I don't just go and do it because just the other night I was gonna do last night, and I was like I tune in because I was, like, telling my husband, I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do a measurement before the show today," and I sat in and I was like I asked, "Is it in the highest good for me to do this? Like, should I do it right now?" And they're very clear. They're like, "No, not right now." And I could do it. It would just give me, like, 1 joule, it wouldn't show a lot. So had that they specifically said, "Okay, we will be measured." And they were moving around, and you'll be able to see in the video with it and the graph will show you how drastic it is. So they're very intentional if they wanna show themselves and if they wanna get measured. So that was super interesting with that, and, um, when I saw that, I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." So, another one can I tell you another one, which is really awesome? So another one is so I facilitate sound baths, and when I do these sound baths, I am located in Pennsylvania, and I do them at this small little venue. It's a one-room schoolhouse, really out in the country, and that was converted to an old church that now is a venue, and when I
Explain what a sound bath is to those that don't know.
Absolutely. So what a sound bath is I'm the practitioner and I have crystal bowls and I have a gong and I have Himalayan bowls and whatever instruments I am guided to use for the session. And the people that come, they come and bring yoga mats and pillows and they lie down on these mats in front of me and they literally have blankets and they joke around that it's a big sleepover because it seems like everyone has their own space. And during the session, I intuitively play these ancient instruments. Each instrument gives all certain vibrations and frequencies, and they go into people's energy, their biofield, and it helps them bring their body back into resonance to be able to work and function as they should. So when it's not really a bath, I know sometimes when people come, they're like, a sound bath, they're like, "Do we have to wear a bathing suit?" And I'm like, "No." They're completely closed. All you need to do is bring your yoga mat, whatever's comfy for you. And so when they do that, some people experience physical changes, emotional, spiritual, because the frequencies and the energy is moving through them in different ways. So when I do facilitate my sound baths, I definitely connect beforehand. I set up an energetic pyramid at the safe space, that only light and love can be enter the space, and I'm very intentional prior to it. And then during the session, I am a very active one, so I go around and I like to get the instruments in their fields, and I play, like I said, as I'm guided to do it. So when this was one of my sessions that I did there. When I did a baseline with just the building itself, and then when I did the sound bath. So when I did the building itself, without anything in it, it was just about 2 joules. Okay. Which was, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then when I facilitated the sound bath, it actually got up to 5.6 joules. Now, let me put this in reference for you guys, okay? So I got my expert level training directly under Dr. Krakow. Okay. He's the one who invented the BioWell. He has been all around the world and he has taken measurements from pyramids and all these ancient civilizations and just stuff all around the world. So when I was learning through him, he did this presentation and he shared all his data. So when he was in Egypt, let me just give you a reference. When he was in Egypt at the Sphinx, it was 3.7 joules. Okay, at the Sphinx. So the energy in my backyard with the angels is about the same energy as what the Sphinx is, okay? Which was amazing. But the Hathor temple was 4.4 joules, okay? And then the Isis temple, which was one of the highest that he measured, came in at 5 joules, okay? My sound bath in little southern Pennsylvania brought in 5.6 joules. And what is amazing about that is it's not myself as the facilitator, it's not the beings that are there, it's the space that we open up, and I can see during the sessions the angels that show up or the beings that are with us during the sessions. And it's beautiful because there's so many different ones, but what they do is they agree to have their frequency, like, measured, they intentionally allow that to be measured during it. So that opens a whole different can of, okay, um, or the, like, what's going on in Egypt. Those are very strong, powerful, energetic places, but it brings up the question, the power that or the ability we can as humans, with intention, of allowing those spaces and energetic and spiritual beings to join us to, experience those powerful energies that are so shifting with us in our energetic bodies. So I love merging the worlds of science and energy because it's so fascinating and it's so just bringing awareness to people and the clients that come, they're just like just kind of local people. They're not, most of them have never even had energy work themselves besides their sound bath. They love coming because they feel like $1,000,000 afterwards, so they come receive so that they have clarity and they can be more fully present in their lives. So, yeah, it's super amazing and super, like, awesome using these tools. And, recently, I feel guided to, use them to show I'm looking at my Himalayan lamp. How's a Himalayan lamp affect the energy of the room? How does wearing crystal bracelets, bringing that awareness that people feel things and actually having numbers to go along with it, that it's not just in your mind.
Mhm. That's a lot to unpack. First of all first of all, I was gonna ask you if the inventor of the BioWell was Russian because he uses the word Sputnik for the satellite orbiter that's doing the energy, and it sounds like he is, the gentleman that you mentioned who was training you. Also, you mentioned that there are other beings that show up during the sessions. Have you been able to identify who those beings are?
Oh, like during the sound baths?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I have had, Oh my goodness. Well, Mother Mary's with me all the time. She is, just her presence, like, I feel very much of a very strong connection with the ancient mothers. Her and particularly, she is with us, I mean, every so many times, and then the angels, certain angels, archangels will be present during certain sessions. Archangel Michael is frequently with, he's one that's very common that comes, I've had, Jesus, Yeshua, whatever you wanna refer, he has come down in sessions and for people as well during,
Do you have your clients' deceased loved ones show up, or is it primarily religious figures or spiritual masters that you're seeing along with the angels?
sometimes past loved ones will come, um, not all the time, and, it's interesting because when I have encounters with people who have passed away, they reach out to me to help them go towards the light. And what's really interesting is, like, I'm always like, "Do you have a message for a loved one here on earth?" And usually they don't. But I have one of my dear friends, she is so has so many different spiritual gifts. These When people pass away, they come to her because they wanna communicate with her to have her communicate to their families and say all this stuff. So when they communicate with me, they just kind of show their presence there, and not necessarily to do it. So, like, I'll feel them and they'll show up sometimes, um, but not all the time. A lot of times, like, I've had Ganesha show up, like, Ascended Masters will show up and different people will beings like that, but occasionally, it will be a past loved one.
Mhm. It's not a surprise to me that the Virgin Mary is around you in these healings because, what are moms? We're the original healers, right? And she represents not only the Virgin Mary in our Christian culture, the Jews, I don't think they pay a lot of attention to the Virgin Mary like we Christians do, especially the Catholics. But I think also that there are many cultures where she was different goddesses, she was the goddess of whatever, fertility, the earth, healing, all of those things, and she's gonna show up that energy is gonna show up in a way that we can recognize and relate to that energy, and for we Catholic girls, it's the Virgin Mary, so I understand that. Has anything you've discovered about the human energy field surprised you?
Mm. I Ye Something that surprised me is when I do scanning of children, I'm very interested because their scans and their fields can sometimes have, like, missing chunks in them. Okay? And I believe that their energy field develop it's like they're still developing in a different way, and it's not fully developed when we do these biofields. So, like, when I do images of my kids, sometimes it looks really bad, like a horrible energies, but I believe that it's the meridians are still developing in a unique way, and I know I can't remember the text that they talked about the meridians. Certain meridians develop from 0 to 7, and then 7 to 14, and then 14 on. So, I think that's really surprising with children of how their systems are, and I feel like when I inquire about it, there's not much information about children. So that, is what really surprises me. As far as, like, adults doing the scans, I feel like a common theme that I see with, so many people is that I see, like, shootouts in their thyroid area, their respiratory area, the urogenital area, and those are filtration systems. So most of my people need detoxes as a especially as a society, like, we live a lifestyle where we indulge in a lot, but we don't do detoxes for our body. So that is something that's really common for people is, that our systems need detox, our energetic systems need detox. Also, I see a lot of trends of blockages in the spine as it's coming up, and the energy flows from behind us to the front of us. And so, with that, there could be different areas of the spine that's affecting how the energy is flowing and how that's affecting the energy going to different parts of their brain, their vision, and so forth. So, having that awareness that you do have that and addressing it and taking care of it so it doesn't manifest as a physical ailment.
What does it look like to you when there's a certain energy center or a chakra that needs detoxing?
So, like when they're on the table, like when if I'm doing a session with somebody. So it's interesting. So, like, I do these imaging and I get all these graphs and datas, but then I can see their chakras when they're on the table when I'm working with them.
In
Um,
your mind's eye.
yes, my mind's eye, yes. So when I'm doing that, I wouldn't say I go through each one and then I see how it's rotating, how the energy's flowing into it and how it's rotating. Is it really stagnant? Is it stuck? Is it like low energy? Is there a lot like abundance of too much energy going into it? And kind of how is it, those vortexes going in the front and the back of it. Um, so I don't necessarily do a detox for that chakra specifically. I don't do that with my clients. I do a lot of work where I do see that and we bring it back in and then we look at their biofield. So I look at their energetic self in a whole, their body. So I do check through their earth star, their sun star, and their chakras and see how the energy's flowing. And if things are in alignment, do that first and before you do anything else with it. So I just really tune in and spend time with each of the chakras to see if it's flowing as it should. And if it's not, what needs to be done to get it to working as it should. And then usually at the end of the session, I get guidance for what that person needs to do to keep this alignment in place. Because if they go back to their old habits, it can then move things back to the way they were.
What's a suggestion of something that you've received to help somebody keep their body in alignment energetically?
Oh, it it varies person to person. I've had people where if all their chakras are over to the one side, there is being a heavy influence by like their father. If I am seeing that there is something they need to resolve with their father and their relationship with their father or their mother or something like that, like a relationship that needs to be talked about and resolved because it's constantly going to be doing that. Or if one that I do get fairly common is people aren't grounding with Mother Earth enough. So when I like hold their feet, I feel Mother Earth's energy coming up through my feet and goes into theirs. And it's interesting because their physical body reacts when they experience Mother Earth's energy when they go into her when she comes up through them. And so a lot of them just need to be like outside barefoot, like connect with the earth, like very, very much. And that even that little change will help them. Um, there's just so many different things a lot of it's lifestyle changes too, of how they're living their lifestyle and how their belief systems about themselves, and how they created these stories that aren't necessarily true and that so and it's the beautiful thing is that I truly believe in the empowerment, within like during the sessions they get to tune into their own light and experience their own self, and that's such a beautiful thing because when they come out, they're like, "What was that?" I was like, "You're just experiencing yourself. Like, you can tune into that at any time." Like, empowering them to find things that work for them that when they're living life out every day, that they can tap into that light within because we all have that ability, and that's the beauty of the light within, of the fractal part of God within us that we're tuning into that allows us to fully be present. And so once they kind of people experience that, they want to come back to that. So they do make lifestyle changes to be able to do that.
So give up the Pop Tarts and the Coca Cola and think of things a little more nutritious, is what I'm hearing. basically. If spirit wanted us to remember just one thing about joy, what do you think it would be?
Mm, he well, that's a good one. That it's already inside of us and that we don't need to look for external things to find it, and that we just need to take the time to remember what it feels
Mhm.
like because it's always been there. We just sometimes some of us just forget, and so we look for external things and we get caught up in the matrix and, societal beliefs, we need this and this and this to fill it up, but it's already within you. The joy is already there. You don't have to go anywhere looking for it. That's the beauty of it.
Well, and I think proof of that is look at any baby. Babies and toddlers, they're happy. Unless they're hungry, they need to be changed or they're in pain.
Mhm.
Their natural state is of joy.
Yes.
And I completely agree with you. And I think when we watch babies, it really reinforces that. And we think, okay, yeah, we come in joyful and then we negate our joy with whatever the stresses are that we go through in life, which is part of our journey and part of what we want to explore and experience. But I agree with you. We've just got to get back and find it and know that it's in there, maybe buried, but you can unearth it. Last question. Why do we incarnate?
Ooh, that's such a good one. We are helping Mother Earth transition and the vibration of the planet, and we are here on this planet to spread unconditional love to each other, that togetherness and just helping each other. We are here to help each other and be connect with our hearts in a heart-centered space and connect with emotions and experience all this beautiful earth has to offer and that there is no such thing as good or bad, like if you think about it, it's just the oneness, and when you connect with the oneness and within yourself, with God, and with each other, like that's raising the vibration of the whole planet. So we are here to help each other, to guide each other, and to be with each other in a space of light and love. And even if someone is not working in a space of light and love, you sharing your light for others is helping their dark, I mean, them in their darkness, you're providing a light, and it might be planting the seed. It might be for whatever it's meant to be on their journey. But, that's why we're here is just oh, just to feel that love. I think it's a beautiful experience, and I think being on this planet is amazing, and there's so much beauty to be found and so much to experience, and it's such a blessing at this time to be on the earth right now, yeah.
You are such a breath of fresh air, girl, especially as an educator. My goodness, those children who got to have you as a teacher over your 17 years in the classroom, how blessed are they that they got to be in your presence for a whole school year? And how blessed are the rest of us that you're now expanding beyond the classroom walls with your magic that you're weaving with all of these different modalities that you've strung together to help people heal and help people explore the world from a different perspective. So, congratulations on your journey and congratulations for having the courage to really reach outside of the career that you've known since you've gotten out of school. That takes a lot of courage to step into a totally new career that seems like it's not associated with your work as a school teacher, but certainly it is. You're still a teacher, you're just teaching in a different venue now,
Yes.
and you're gonna have the ability to reach many, many more people. So, what a delight to get to talk to you today. How can people learn more about you and your work?
Oh, wonderful. No, first off, I wanna say that it was a blessing being those kids' teacher because they all taught me something about myself and about the world and that I value. It was like, I think I counted like 700 kids that I taught. Every single one have imprinted my heart, so, like, they are the blessing to me that I have had that opportunity, so I just want to put that out there, but, you can reach me on my website, it's www.amypituch.com, my first and last name. I'm also on Facebook, Amy Pituch, if you search that, and then I'm on Instagram as well, if you amy.pituch. And I would love just to connect with anyone who resonates with this. I do independent research. I'm working with different doctors. I do a lot of research with individuals and different, I do corporate events and teaching people and bringing awareness and just kind of spreading that love, that message, and just bringing more light into this planet so that we can all unify together. So,
And we'll have those links in the show notes as well. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Till next time, sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama. Mwah! And from Pennsylvania, too, where Amy is. We'll see you next time. To enhance your spiritual journey, click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends.